Good afternoon. My name is Ces Butner, and I have the honor to serve as this year's president of Rotary Club of Oakland. Founded in 1908, the Rotary Club of Oakland is the third oldest Rotary Club of some 35,000 Rotary clubs throughout the world. We are a community of 300 men and women from all walks of Oakland's civic, commercial, and community life, committed to Rotary motto of service above self. I'd like to welcome you to our 5,340th club meeting.
President says we can't hear you. AV is muted. Jack, you're muted.
Jack.
Perfect. We can hear you.
For over 111 years, we have welcomed Rotarians and guests from around the world to our club meetings. We continue to do so virtually during COVID, and soon as we'll be right here in the California Ballroom. That's right. Once again, we're testing how to integrate the ballroom experience with our virtual environment. So bear with us as we get ready for an in-person meeting in June. And many thanks to the AV team co-chaired by Jack House and Sandeepa Nayak, who have worked tirelessly this year to help our Rotary Club maintain a meeting format. So if you're visiting Rotarian or you're a guest of Rotarian, please let us know by typing your name and the name of your club into the chat box located at the center bottom of your screen. By doing so, we will be able to recognize you later in the meeting. Also, we recommend that all participants view this Zoom meeting by clicking the speaker view button located in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. And if you have comments throughout the meeting or questions for the speaker, please use the chat button at the bottom of the screen for that as well. And now for our thought for the day, Rotarian Anna Marie Jones.
Thank you, President Ces. Hello, my fellow Rotarians and guests. I'm really honored to do the thought for the day, and I chose two because I think it summarizes where we are in the world and who we are for the world. The first by brilliant computational biologist Pardis Sabeti, and it is, let us not let the world be defined by the destruction wrought by one virus, but illuminated by billions of hearts and minds working in unity. The second is from the incredible Coretta Scott King, and she says the greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. And for the members of our club who are busy working so hard behind the scenes, doing all that you are seeing and witnessing now in terms of getting ready for us to open and open safely and bridge the world of online and in person, I would really love to ring the bell. Thank you, President Ces.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, that's wonderful. We got a bell ring early on. Thank you, Anna Marie, for setting the tone for the meeting with those positive, insightful thoughts. Because we want to remain grounded and focused, we begin our meetings by jointly reciting our vision, which is, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. I hope you enjoyed last week's meeting where we had Rishma Sarjani, the CEO for Girls Who Code, who offered a Marshall Plan for moms to help gain back all of those job losses for women over the last year. This week, we have further testing of the ballroom meeting experience, anticipating our first in-person meeting on June the 17th, 2021. So June 17th, mark that calendar date, some more rules concerning that will come out. So sit back and enjoy another in our great civic meetings, Civic Thursday meetings, where you can catch a great speaker and also do service above self. Past President Ed Jellin, do we have any visiting Rotarians, our guests?
Indeed, we do, President Ces. I'm going to start with our guest visiting Rotarian who is here as at the invitation of Wendy Howard. He's a member of the Rotary Club of San Francisco, the second oldest Rotary Club in the world. He's an alumni ambassador at the University of San Francisco. Please join me in welcoming Kevin Leong, Rotarian from San Francisco. Welcome, Kevin. Nice to have you here with us. And let's see who else is out there. CJ brought some guests with her today. First of all, she brought Janani Ramachandran, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who is a candidate for the State Assembly. Welcome, Janani, to our Rotary Club meeting. And oh yeah, there's more. Daniil Platt, who is with the Janani's campaign. And even one more, Lois Corin. So welcome, Danielle and Lois, and CJ, thank you for bringing us all these nice guests today. And that's the lineup for today, President Ces.
Well, thank you, Ed, and welcome to all the guests. We are inducting a new member today. She will be introduced by past President David Stein with two interesting facts about our newest Rotarian. David.
President Ces, fellow Rotarians and guests, it's my honor to introduce Oakland Rotary's newest member, Sarah Yoel. Maybe you can put Sarah's picture up there. There she is. Hi, Sarah. Sarah is a graduate of Castlemont High School. Go Knights. She's married to Mike and has a daughter, Isabella. Two interesting facts. I thought I'd focus on her athletic prowess. First is Sarah lives in a house that has a pool, but she doesn't swim. That's the bad news. The good news is Sarah is an avid runner. She's ran in 7 US marathons and 2 international marathons, one in Berlin and one in Barcelona. Please give a warm Oakland Rotary welcome to our newest member, Sarah Yoel, who, by the way, is the East Bay Government Relations Representative for PG&E. Sarah, welcome.
Get the clapping in. We'll try to get some clapping in. You'll hear it from the audience that we have here. Sarah, we are happy that you have chosen to join us, and please know that your family and friends are always welcome to join us and to participate in our projects and events. By accepting membership, you have adopted our vision, which is together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. You also agreed to conduct your affairs according to the Rotary 4-way test. 1, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? You will receive your Rotary pin, and we hope that you will wear it with pride and find pleasure and fulfillment by attending meetings, participating in our service activities, practicing service above self, and by contributing to the Rotary Foundation and Oakland Rotary Endowment. So now it is my pleasure, privilege, and honor to induct you as the newest member of the Rotary Club of Oakland. Let's give our newest member another warm Rotary welcome. When you're here in person, everybody will stand up to see you, Sarah. That's a great welcome that you get. Okay, let's move along. President-elect Dudley Thompson, I believe you have an update on the strategic plan.
Thank you, President Ces, fellow Rotarians, honored guests. In 2016, the Rotary Club adopted a strategic plan. It was a thorough process back then. President Bozenecker, Marks, and Dibdahl worked on that plan at that time. Last October, the Board of Directors asked us to review and revise that plan. We pulled together a team The team included Stephanie Cosenza, Debo Sarkar, Gary Flaxman, who are on the board of directors, and also members Cynthia Harris, Tristan Connor, Jesse Schmidt, Tori Howard, and Executive Administrator Jesse Bautel. I chaired the committee. Mary Jiang, when she was elected, joined the committee, and Pat Williams was with us for a few weeks before her retirement. The process was we met 13 times between December and March. We put together an individual survey as well as an electronic survey. We interviewed 24 members personally. There were 84 people, I believe, that responded to the electronic survey. And from that, the team put together we developed this process of what's sometimes called strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or SWOT, to people that are into this thing. And so then we developed a summary, and which you see in front of you. Now, what's in front of you, and then I'll say that the board reviewed it in March, made comments, and we took it back, revised it, and the board adopted it in April meeting 2-3 weeks ago. The goals you see, they're broad goals, but they give us direction. And then if you'll go to the next page, under the goals, we focused on 4 areas: membership, service, communications, public image, and sustainability. So what we did was we set 4 goals, and then under each of those goals, we again have objectives for that. And then there'll be one more step of which we develop action plans for that, and that'll be much more detailed with time specificity. This strategic plan will be sent out to all of our members in the next few days. You can take a look at it. You're welcome to come and talk about it, but it gives us the direction that we'll be heading over the next 3 or 4 years. The last step is that on the board of directors next year, we will have a committee, which will be the strategic plan committee, to monitor this, to review and revise it over the next few years. So thank you, President Ces, and thank you really all the people that served on the committee. It was a lot of work, and they did a great job. Thank you. My mask. And when we come back, bring a mask.
President-elect Dudley was kind of gave you a preview of what we'll be talking about soon. And that is all of the issues with protocol that we have to go over for entering back into in-person meetings. We're going to have several of them, but we're developing them now, and you'll be prepared for it for the June 17th meeting. I will remind you again, that's when we'll be meeting in person. Now, to remind us of the culmination of the ORA fundraising campaign, what do we have? The gala event. Kathleen Sims, Rotarian Kathleen Sims, are you going to tell us about the gala event? That's this Saturday, isn't it?
I am, President Ces. It is this Saturday. Finally, it's here. We're all kind of nervous about this virtual event, but we're ready. I wanted to take a minute to thank all the donors, the sponsors and supporters that are going to make this a success. So I wanted to show you on the screen, there's a bidding owl tips on how to place your bids online for the great auction items that we have. And I believe we're going to send this out to you in an email blast so you have it and you can go in and make your selections and take a look at the really fun auction items we have. The next slide should be just a reminder of the casino night, and we hope to see you there. We are going to be sending you a couple of emails with details. Please take a look at them. It tells you how to log in. It tells you where to go if you get lost or confused. So you have to take a look. And finally, we wanted to clarify that the cocktail mix is available at Kingston 11. And this is a great cocktail mix. We're going to have 2 cocktails, and it includes the liquor and all the items that go with it. So you can pick it up from Kingston 11 in Oakland. If you don't know it, we're giving you the directions and all the information that you need to go there to pick them up. And the final item is to remind you that we have a raffle. The raffle is going to go through the night until we can't take any more bids. So it's going to be a great raffle, and I hope to see you all there. We're very excited about it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
That raffle item is about 20 or 24 bottles of wine, $50 value at least. So that's a pretty good, about $1,000, $1,200 value. For $50, you can get one of the raffle tickets for that. And win not only all of those beautiful bottles of wine, but you also saw on the screen, we have a little refrigerator to go with it. So you got a refrigerator to put it all in. Somebody won, I think, last year, and it was about trying to make sure that we included all other Rotarians sipping some of that great wine. You can buy a raffle ticket in chat. Just put it in chat and we'll send you out a bill for a raffle ticket, $50. That's all it is. So, and this is the last time to sign up. If you haven't signed up yet, make sure you do it. Come to our gala event. It'll be a lot of fun for everybody. Now, I wanted to save some time, if I got any time left here, to have a little, to let you discuss, celebrate, discuss, fellowship, everything in the breakout rooms to kind of simulate what we do here in the ballroom. We always have it at each table, everyone chit-chatting for about 5 or 10 minutes before our speaker. And that's what we want you to get in the habit of doing, because we will be meeting here June 17th for our first meeting, an in-person meeting. I look forward to seeing everybody then. It should be a good time. So put us in the breakout rooms.
Hi, Sandeepa. I can't
Hi.
hear you. I fell off and I didn't get into a room, but that's okay.
I just joined, so I'm not in a room either.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. We missed you.
Thank you.
Hi, Celeste. Hi, Zadie. I was
Hi.
talking, but I was muted.
Oh,
I'm trying to start my video and it won't let me for some reason.
Oh,
there
there
it
you
is.
are.
There it goes. There it goes. Yeah. There it, I don't even know why it's looking the way it's looking.
well, we have our own little group here then. This is our breakout room.
Exactly. I'm in the office.
The
that's why
breakout
it's-
room will end in about 31 seconds anyway.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So they're discussing about issues or stuff that will come up when we meet in person on June
Oh.
17th.
Right.
So do you have any issues?
I haven't been to any kind of group gathering, so I guess it's just nervousness. That would be
Yes.
that would be my issue.
Yeah. So I was looking at a TV show. I think it was Stephen Colbert,
Uh-huh.
and they were talking about, how people are, nervous and have to figure out how to integrate back into the society.
Yeah.
How people have forgotten how to, party and what are the correct etiquettes and stuff like that.
Yeah. I haven't forgotten how to party. That's not my problem. I've just forgotten how to, it's a safety thing. I am a little nervous, I have to admit.
All right,
Hey,
we're coming back.
guess so.
We are back.
We are all back.
Are back.
Back then. Today, we have a exciting speaker to come to us, and they changed the name of who's introducing the speaker. We got Gary Flaxman, I think, here. Will you do us the honor of introducing this week's Civic Thursday speaker?
Thank you, President Ces. I have the privilege today of introducing Bruce Quan, a fifth-generation Californian whose family came to San Francisco in 1850. After the Great San Francisco earthquake of 1906, his family moved to Oakland, purchasing homes in then-segregated Chinatown. Bruce attended Lakeview School, Westlake Junior High, Montero Junior High, and graduated as a member of the first full class from the segregated Skyline High School in 1964. He attended UC Berkeley as an undergraduate and graduate. While at law school, Bruce served as student body president and clerked for the litigation team of the Senate Watergate Committee. After law school, he entered public service as assistant city attorney for the city of Alameda before entering private practice. In the early 80s, as China began opening up trade relations, his firm began to specialize in representing corporations and businesses conducting trans-Pacific business. In 95, he began lecturing at Peking University in Beijing and served as an outside observer on the development of the new rule of law system for China. In 2004, he accepted a teaching position at Peking University while also serving as an adjunct professor at Hastings College of Law in San Francisco. Over the course of his career, he has been involved in social justice and civil rights activities, including serving as general counsel for the National Civil Rights Organization and Organization of Chinese Americans based in DC in the late 80s. He retired in 2013 from teaching. While in retirement, he has participated in Operation Ceasefire, Interfaith Council of Alameda County, and most recently as community member advising the task force on re-imaging public safety. He is here today to share his book, Bitter Roots, 5 Generations of Chinese Family in America. Bruce Quan.
Thank you, Gary, for the introduction. And I want to thank John Clausen, David Stein, and the Speakers Committee for this opportunity to address the Oakland Rotary. Greetings, Rotarians. Like many of you, my family and I have been rooted in Oakland for over a century. I want to share a bit of history from my book, and I would like to start with the slideshow. Could you put the first slide up, please? There's no slide? I sent the slides in. David?
Let me double check and see. Yeah. Can you, Bruce, can you resend them? I don't see them.
Oh my goodness.
Bruce, you can go ahead and share your screen and show your slides.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I'm a digital immigrant from the last century. So it's very difficult. So, well, I was the first slide. I guess I'll just fake it then. If you have, it's unfortunate, but a lot of it was.
Have it. Sorry.
A lot of it was based on some of the slides that I was going to show today. But let me just start by saying the first slide was a copy of an obituary of my great-grandfather, Liu Heng. He came, excuse me, that obituary was in the Oakland Tribune in 1934. And he came to America by himself at the age of 11 in 1869. And it was during his lifetime that racial prejudice toward Chinese was at its height. His father had come, that is my great-grandfather had come in 1852, seeking fortune in the gold country. He stayed there only a week or two, afraid for his life, when drunk white miners came to his camp, took away 2 of his Klansmen, tied them together by their queues, hung them over a tree branch, and used them for target practice until they were dead. By 1852, there were 25,000 Chinese in California, prompting the governor and the legislature to enact the 1852 Foreign Act. There we go. That's the obituary. Let me just continue. By 1852, there were 25,000 Chinese in California, prompting California to enact the 1852 Foreign Miners License Tax. That's the second one. Sandeepa, can you go back to the first one? Yeah, just leave it at the first one. Thank you. The tax was increased every year, eventually driving the Mexican miners back to Mexico and the Chinese to the cities in search of work. My great-great-grandfather was among those who left America unable to find work in the San Francisco Bay Area. When he sent his son, Liu Heng, in 1869, animosity toward the Chinese in the cities was starting to escalate. From the 1870s to the early decades of the 20th century, systemic racism toward Chinese increased dramatically with the 1873 worldwide economic depression. Whites, upset with what they believed were jobs being taken by the Chinese, who were willing to work for less, unleashed pogroms against the Chinese. White mobs, urged by city fathers, went into the Chinatowns in cities and towns in the West, murdering, raping, looting, and burning businesses and residents, then driving the survivors out of town. Barbara Berlin, in Making San Francisco American, Cultural Frontiers in the Urban West, 1846 to 1906, described the reason for the white disdain for Chinese. The themes of inability to assimilate, contamination, labor competition, and vice were nodes around which the 19th century image of the Oriental was structured in the dominant culture's imagination. It started in Los Angeles in 1871 with a Chinese massacre. the mass lynching of 15 Chinese, including a 14-year-old boy and the Chinese community's only physician, along with 4 deaths of Chinese from gunshot wounds on October 24th. The white mobs were fueled by editorials in the Los Angeles News that attacked Chinese as barbarians taking jobs away from the whites. Yet California was not satisfied. So in 1875, Horace F. Page, a congressman from California, introduced the Page Act, which was, when it was enacted by Congress, its purpose was to restrict the immigration of Chinese women to America, claiming Chinese women were coming for immoral purposes. It was the first law closing the previously open borders of America. Then 7 years later, Congressman Page introduced the Chinese Exclusion Act, the first act targeting for exclusion a specific race from America. That is what has been spoken of as the 1882 Exclusion Act. And one of the most vocal supporters of that act was a local attorney named John H. Bolt. Now, despite the animosity toward Chinese, my great-grandfather Liu Hing built a business empire from 1888 to 1929 with ownership in canneries, hotels, dry goods and import-export stores, a bank, and a steamship lines, of which he was either president or chairman of the board. He was also a major investor in a cotton plantation in Mexicali, Mexico. However, beginning in the early 1920s, dominant society through government means made an example of my great-grandfather to warn other Chinese to know their place by beginning to use questionable tactics to take him down, forcing his ventures into bankruptcy or shutting them down. Now, please go to the next slide. This is called a certificate of residence, and this is the one for my great-grandfather. You will notice he's wearing Chinese garb. All Chinese citizens or aliens were required to register with the government. Then every Chinese person was issued a certificate of residence to carry on their person as required by the Geary Act, which extended the 1882 Exclusion Act indefinitely upon the expiration of the 10-year effective period of the original act. Failure to produce it while in public upon demand by the government officials resulted in a severe fine or immediate deportation. The violator was required to show proof by producing a white person to vouch for his or her presence in America. Next picture, please. This is a picture of Liu Hing 8 years after, in 1902. You will notice that he has cut his queue, he grew a mustache and changed from traditional Chinese garb to Western business attire. In the next year, 1903, he decided to open a new cannery in West Oakland at 10th and Pine Streets. He planned to build a railroad spur from the cannery to the new transcontinental railhead to move his products nationwide. Next picture, please. This is an original stock certificate of the Pacific Coast Canning Company, incorporated at the end of 1903 by W.A. Richardson, the longtime attorney for Liu Hing. Now, prior to opening the cannery in Oakland, he had owned the Pacific Fruit Packing Company in San Francisco from 1888 to 1902. With the assistance of a friendly white customs broker, P.W. Bellingall, who would remain his lifelong friend, he apprenticed in a white tin shop at 16, learning American business practices and refining his English fluency. With Bellingall, they opened a tin shop supplying tin cans for canneries up and down the West Coast. He then, with Bellingall's help, apprenticed in a white cannery until he learned food processing for canned goods. At the age of 30, he had opened the Civic Fruit Packing Company in San Francisco. Next picture, please. In the bottom left corner is a picture of Liu Heng. This is a 1914 directory of business owners in Alameda County, prominent business owners. By this time, the cannery was the third largest cannery on the West Coast, employing more than 1,000 workers during the canning season. He was the only non-white male in the book. Next picture, please. Now, these next four pictures are of the cannery. The first one is the original cannery. Next picture, please. This is an article in the December 1905 Oakland Tribune describing the cannery, which commenced operation in the summer of 1905 with 300 workers. The next picture, please. This is the logo of the cannery product under the label Buckskin brand. The Buckskin brand was sold exclusively through Rolfe Agency. The Rolfe Agency was established in 1900 by James Rolfe, also known as Sonny Jim Rolfe, later to become the mayor of San Francisco from 1912 to 1931, and then governor of California from 1931 to 1934. Rolfe's contact with Herbert Hoover provided a huge jump in sales for the cannery, as it was one of the suppliers to the Belgian Relief Fund during World War I, and thereafter to Europe after the war, when Hoover was appointed by President Wilson to head the European Reconstruction Agency. Next picture, please. This is the only known picture of all the workers at the cannery, and you will notice they are likely mostly women. Next picture, please. This is an article from the Oakland Herald, and it is written after the earthquake in San Francisco, and it is fanning the flames of hatred toward the Chinese who were fleeing San Francisco to Oakland, because at the time there was a very small Chinatown in Oakland. Now, during the flight of the Chinese, Liu Heng was credited with providing relief for thousands of Chinese when the official relief agencies in both San Francisco and Oakland refused to render aid to the Chinese and to minorities in the early weeks after the devastation. Next picture, please. This is a formal photograph of Liu Heng at the height of his business career. Next picture, please. The car behind Liu Heng and his wife, his two young children, and the couple is his automobile, and he is supposed to be the first Chinese person to ever own an automobile in the United States. Because of his business success and the fact that he had 2 lotteries, the city fathers allowed him to build a house outside of segregated Chinatown at 457 Wayne Avenue, which he occupied in 1911 with his extended family. Next photo, please. This is the house that he had built. Notice Lake Merritt in the background. Because he could not own the property because he was an alien, it is believed the house was in his eldest son's name. Next picture, please. This is a picture of Liu Heng and his immediate family in front of that house. Now, during this period, that is the 1910s and into the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan was very active in Oakland. If you look at the internet, there is a picture of the Ku Klux Klan rally in the Kaiser Auditorium in 1925. However, because of his involvement, his businesses in Oakland, in both the white community and in the Chinese community, he was known as an honorary white. He also had contact with the politicians in Oakland. Next picture, please. What you are looking at is a promissory note to my great-grandfather from a gentleman named Frank K. Mott. Frank Mott was the mayor of Oakland during the earthquake and was involved in Oakland politics for quite a number of years. It is unknown for what reason this promissory note was issued by Mr. Mott to my great-grandfather. We do know that since he had possession of this, that the note was never paid off. Next picture, please. Now, this is a picture of my grandfather, Quan Yin, who was Liu Hing's son-in-law. He ran 2 lotteries in Oakland for the family. Next picture, please. These pictures are of sheriff's badges and identification cards identifying my grandfather as a deputy sheriff in the 1920s and the early 1930s. The sheriff issuing the ID was Frank Barnett, who was defeated in 1927 for re-election by Becker, then police chief of Piedmont and widely known as a high-ranking member of the Ku Klux Klan. Becker ran on the platform of Christian morals against gambling and alcohol. Becker was convicted of corruption and sent to San Quentin in 1930 by then District Attorney Earl Warren. Our family reverted to ordinary second-class citizens after my great-grandfather passed away. Oakland had remained a segregated city during my grandfather's generation and my father's generation. My father, upon returning from World War II, could not get a decent job in Oakland. And in 1958, my parents purchased their home in all-white Montclair through white intermediaries. I attended segregated Monterey Junior High School and Skyline High School, where I was socially shunned and sometimes told to go back to where I came from. I want to conclude my presentation with a passage from my book about racial profiling. A quarter of a century after groundbreaking passage of the Civil Rights Act, white institutional racism remained alive and well in America. When I was young, I thought all those racial slights and incidents were my fault, that I somehow wasn't a real American. In my lifetime, progress had been made toward racial equality, but something always happened to remind me that racism was still alive and well in America. In 1989, as the interim city attorney of the city of Alameda, I was the chief legal officer of the city. One night after an unusually late city council meeting, I returned to my office upstairs in City Hall to prepare instructions for the secretary. It was nearing 2 a.m. in the morning. Leaving the darkened City Hall, I drove past police headquarters, onto Lincoln, and then to Park Street, headed towards Oakland. A block later, a police car pulled up behind me with the sirens blaring and lights flashing. I pulled over and rolled down my window. The police officer immediately left his car and walked over to my car, and in a harsh tone said, "Get out of the car, boy, and spread 'em." I reluctantly got out and leaned over, putting my hands on the hood as I was told, very perturbed. "Show me your license," he said, carefully, as I stood up and reached toward my back right pants pocket. I gave him my license and he said, "Get back on the hood." I glanced back and saw him looking at it with his flashlight. At the time, I lived in Berkeley, and maybe his tone was because of this fact. Then he said, not at all courteously, "Boy, what are you doing here at this hour? You don't belong here. You belong on the other side of the bridge." He repeated his question, this time in an accusatory tone. "I asked you, boy, what are you doing here?" Moments passed before I responded. "Officer, I am your city attorney." There was a dead pause, and then I heard him mutter under his breath, Oh shit. Then the bullshit started to flow from his mouth. I really apologize for this mistake. I'm sorry to have stopped you, but, you know, we have a report of an Oriental male committing a robbery. Can I get off my car and have my license back, I said, still upset. Yes, sir, he said, as I turned to face him, leaning in close to his face. I said, you mean you have a description of an Oriental male wearing a business suit, driving a red sports car? He stood silent, knowing I had caught him in a lie. He looked away as I continued. Officer, you know racial profiling is cause for disciplinary action. I need your name and badge number. I'm going to have a talk with Chief Bob in the morning. Oh, sir, it was an honest mistake. Please don't report me to the chief. The next morning, still pissed off, I walked to my office, 2 doors down from the mayor's office. Through the open door, I saw the mayor and he waved me in. Closing the door behind me, I began, Chuck, you have a problem. After which I described the incident. He slammed his hand on the desk and said he would talk to Chief Shields. I gave him the information on the offending cop and said, if you have higher political aspirations, you need to address this problem. Sometime later, after I left the city attorney's position, I remember hearing a news item on the radio about Alameda police having been caught on tape denigrating African Americans, calling them, among other things, monkeys and jungle bunnies. After the initial furor, I heard no more about the incident. I didn't follow up, guessing it had been swept under the rug, like many similar racial incidents involving the police. The incident rekindled many memories of my growing up Chinese in America, and often hearing my grandfather's warnings to me. Be careful, little one, Yaya would say. Be careful of what, Yaya? When you are away from the house, be careful of the lo fan, white devils. Who are these white devils? How will I know one? Yaya, trowel in hand, was down on one knee, patting the dirt around a rose bush. Stopping, he looked at me and said, the look ye, police, are all lo fan. They beat and shoot Chinese for no reason. You must be careful where you go. When I was young in San Francisco, if the lookie found a Chinese person in the wrong part of the city at night, they would take him out to where the ocean was, use him for target practice, and after killing him, toss the body into the ocean. What Yaya said confused and troubled me. Why do they do this? Because they hate us, he said, patting the dirt into the mound. His admonitions had long been banished to the recesses of my mind. That is, until I read Driven Out by Gene Felser. The author documented the ethnic cleansing of the Chinese in cities and towns of the Western United States in the 1870s and 1880s. The book brought back many more details of my talks with him. Grandfather's lessons focused on the need to be docile, submissive, and self-effacing. Make sure you lower your head as you speak. Make use of yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. White people like that. It makes them feel superior, he chuckled, even if they speak only one language, while we speak two. It eventually occurred to me that the Chinese people born in America had become adept at modifying their behavior to conform to white-defined standards. It was why we became known as the model minority. Of course, it was necessary to survive in the white world. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Bruce, and we might have a time for a few questions. Susie, do we have any questions for the speaker today?
We do, President Ces. Bruce, the first question comes from David Stein. Today, President Biden signed the COVID hate crimes bill that passed with bipartisan support and was to address violence against the Asian Americans. What do you think of the bill? What else should we be doing to reduce hate crimes and build community across cultures and races?
Well, I applaud the president for having signed the bill. Of course, the hate crimes are not only restricted to Asian Americans, they also have been perpetrated against, obviously, the African American community, the Latino community, the Native American community, the Jewish community, as well as the the LGBT community. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction, that we recognize that there still are problems within the United States and that we can all work together to try to eradicate those problems.
Okay. One more question from Greg Knight. When you were talking about the lottery, he was asking if you could clarify what type of lottery.
They were the kind of lotteries that you had a piece of paper and you had numbers, kind of like bingo. They were gambling houses.
Okay. And President says that's it for the questions.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bruce, for being our speaker today. This year, our club is making the homeless crisis in Oakland a priority. To that end, and as our gift to you for being our speaker for the day, in your honor, we are making a donation to support our unhoused residents in Oakland. Additionally, we would like to give you our centennial book, which documents 100 years of service and friendship in the third oldest club in the Rotary world. Again, thank you, Bruce, for being our speaker for today.
President Ces.
Rotarian Ahmad Anderson, will you tell us about our speaker for our next Civic Thursday meeting?
Absolutely. Thank you, President Ces. I have the pleasure of bringing forth Shooty Babbitt. Shooty Mac Babbitt, as we're known in the neighborhood, a childhood friend, but more than that, an outstanding student athlete, professional athlete, a family man, a Renaissance man. We look forward to having Shooty as he speaks to us about the Oakland A's past, present, and future, giving us some insight, some joy, some laughter, even the pains of what it's been like, but overall, his proud stand as being an Oakland A's professional baseball player and living here, right here in the Bay Area. Thank you, President Ces.
Thank you, Ahmad. We'll have back-to-back weeks, it looks like, of local Oaklanders to speaking to us. Bruce Quan to give us the Asian experience, and Shooty Babbitt to say something about a little Oakland experience. I thank you all. Thank you, Anna Marie, for the thought for today. Thank you, Dudley, for updating us on a strategic plan. Thank you, Kathleen, for the gala announcement. And thank you, Gary, for introducing such an amazing speaker. Thank you, David, for introducing our newest member. And finally, a big welcome to Sarah to membership in Oakland number 3, where service above self exists. Jesse, before I wrap up this meeting, do we have any other bell ringers today?
Yes, we had quite a few wine raffle and several gala tickets. No bell ringers.
Yeah. How many?
No bell ringers.
Oh, we had Anna Marie earlier. I don't know whether I got to ring the bell. I like to ring the bell. So I'll ring it myself. So I'd like to end this meeting as we always do, and that's the way it went. 5,340th club meeting on May 20th, 2021 at Oakland Rotary number 3, the third oldest Rotary club in the world. Everyone remember, Rotary opens opportunities for service above self. This meeting of the Rotary Club of Oakland is adjourned.